Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't see what is on the screen, so I don't even know if I'm up here, but it doesn't really matter. Welcome to the first broadcast of Muffin to Say. We're going to be talking about AI today. It's going to be a lot of fun, probably, maybe not. You never know. We never know what we're going to see. But it is a pleasure to be here and be able to talk to you and entertain you today because, we're going to be doing this every single day, probably at 10 a.m. on every given day. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about topics you want to talk about. We're going to talk about topics I want to talk about. Most of all, we're going to keep it fun. We're going to make it light and just, something that you can come with your cup of coffee and your muffin every single morning and have a freaking blast. Because that's what we do on Muffin to Say, supposedly. So you're going to have to let me know whether our broadcast looks good, looks bad, looks indifferent. Because I don't really know. I have no idea whether we're going out looking good or we're going out looking bad. But since there aren't any actual viewers here, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? So let's have some fun with it. Today, we're going to talk about AI. Everybody is talking about AI, whether it's good, whether it's bad for society. There's all kinds of people. There's fear-mongering everywhere. I use AI pretty much every day in what I do with the different channels that I administer and that sort of stuff. And I can tell you right now that, sometimes it's pretty doggone good. There are a lot of things about AI that will make my life a lot easier. Whether that makes it better for society or not, that's a super, super big question. Because, what's good for society isn't always what we get. In fact, a lot of times, what's good for society is not even almost close to what we get. So it's a real discussion about real topics, and we're going to talk stuff flying around in here. We're going to talk about it. So for me, what I love about AI is the ability to bounce things off of something that has lots of information out there. Now, the biggest problem with AI is that you don't know where that information came from. It's not very smart. It doesn't know how to verify anything. The perfect example to that is I asked a question in AI the other day about whether or not season 6 of No Prep Kings had been released. And basically, it told me that season 6 of No Prep Kings had been released a couple of months ago, or actually at the beginning of 2024. And of course, I know, and anybody who's a big fan of Street Outlaws or No Prep Kings knows, season 6 of No Prep Kings has never been broadcast. I know this. So where did it get this information? Who knows? I have no idea, but it was totally convinced, at least Google's AI was, that season 6 of No Prep Kings had already been broadcast. Now, I know that season 6 of No Prep Kings is scheduled to possibly be broadcast in October of this year, which is why I wanted to check and see what the Google AI said. So it was totally wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if you had read that and you didn't know, you would think, oh, it's already out there. I can download it somewhere. I can find it. But, of course, AI lied. It was totally wrong, and it's never actually been broadcast. So this is a perfect example of where AI is bad, because AI just produces all kinds of misinformation. Now, the perfect example to this is I saw a commercial recently from KFC where it's talking about how the Colonel developed his chicken and it was perfect, but he needed something else, so he invented the potato. Well, that kind of information obviously is totally tongue-in-cheek in a commercial, but AI doesn't know that. So is AI going to think that Colonel Sanders invented the potato? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, if you put stupid in and it doesn't understand context or humor, you get stupid out. And this is the kind of stuff that we're going to see in AI all the time. So you have to take everything that you get in AI with an absolute grain of salt. You have to verify it. And now AI has taken to actually putting little buttons in there or whatever that say, hey, this is my sources, this is where I got the information from. And you can kind of look at that and say, oh yeah, CNN, this is a reliable source of information, or whatever, you know. The point is that at least we're getting some sources nowadays. But the other thing that I think is somewhat negative for AI is the simple fact that it's basically going out there and stealing content. In other words, it bases the different things that it creates from videos and audio and images and everything else based on content that's already out on the internet. My content, your content, anybody's content. It's just stealing that, putting it into its little database, and it will use that to give other users of ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using whatever you want. So it can basically just take my content and replicate that for someone else. You know, so it means copyrights are essentially useless, because I could feed in there, hey, please create a movie like The Little Mermaid, and we want it to be this or that or whatever. And it'll take The Little Mermaid and it will just modify it in any way that I ask and spit it out. I mean, we're not far from that. Obviously, it can't do that now, but we're not far from that. And I'm not really sure. Well, no, I'm pretty sure that's not a good thing. I don't think there's any real reason why we should be giving out our intellectual property to AI so it could just reuse it in any way it sees fit. But there's absolutely not a single thing that we could do about it anyways, because it's not like they're going to give us the opportunity to opt out of AI using our stuff. They're just taking it. They're stealing it. And really, from a YouTube perspective, well, YouTube is giving us a platform to do stuff like this live stream on. So they don't really have to care about whether we like it or not. They can just take it because we're essentially giving it to them. It's part of the YouTuber contract almost that we have with YouTube. They give us a way to possibly make some money and get our message out there, and then they take whatever we do and use it however they basically see fit. There's not a whole heck of a lot we could do about it. But you know, the thing is I'm super hopeful that AI would be something that could really transform the way that we live life, and not necessarily always in a bad way. I mean, I personally wouldn't want to be a programmer right now, but the flip side to that is I would love to be working in the medical field and be able to model or use AI to model all kinds of different materials and have it help me do research to look into different ways of doing things and different materials and everything else that could lead to breakthroughs in medical science. Will it? I don't know. Even if they make a huge breakthrough in medical science, and it's really inexpensive because they used AI to come to that conclusion, it doesn't really matter. They're still going to charge us billions and billions of dollars in the the whole research tax that we pay here in the United States. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. So there's that aspect of it. But I really wish that AI would be used for a lot more research and development and creating products and services excuse me, that make our country or our lives better than to deep fake Donald Trump walking around in the desert naked or anything else like that. Because let's be honest, how much does that really contribute to society? Does it make it funny and more entertaining? Sure. Does it kind of reel in humans who don't seem to really be that much into critical thinking anymore into one little box where we can all just have a very narrow-minded conversation about things that don't really matter? Sure, it does that gloriously well, but it's not really contributing to the betterment of society, which I'm kind of hoping that's what AI would do. But for right now, we're just going to get a lot of really funny videos on the internet. Now, I don't know if you saw the one where Jackson Dart, there was a basically at the end of the preseason game for the Giants, he fed one of his teammates, and I should know his name because he's one of my favorites. Gloriously hilarious dude, but he feeds him the W, and then he The AI version, he pulls a giant crab leg out of his shirt and feeds it to Jackson Dart. And it might be one of the most funny things I have ever seen. So if you haven't seen that, you kind of want to hunt it down. And it's Jameis Winston is the other guy that he feeds this to. And it is freaking hilarious if you haven't seen it. And I do see that we have Lego Tech Mike in the house. What's up, Mike? I hope you're doing well. Is this stream clean? Can you hear me? How does it look? What does it look like? Let me know in the comments, because I can't tell. Every once in a while on what I'm watching here, we'll get the little circle. So I don't know. I'm actually recording this as I'm live streaming, so I don't know what to expect. I think it's pretty good, but I would love to know what you think AI is being used for that's good, and what you think AI should be being used for, which is not necessarily good. It sounds and looks good though, so that's what's important. I did go with the low latency, so, you know, who knows? It seems like your response was a lot faster than what I'm normally used to on live streams, and you are the #1 participant, so that's always nice too. Anyway, so I'm concerned from an AI perspective about what it means for programmers in the immediate future. It means a lot to every single person out there, really, in the long term, because you know, I think AI is going to streamline lots of things. Certainly for me as a YouTube personality and entertainer, it's probably going to take a lot of, I mean, there's just going to be a million bot videos on YouTube, and that's not always easy to compete with, because I can't churn out content in 30 seconds, but AI can. So that's going to be difficult to compete with. It's going to be difficult for YouTube to either allow it or not allow it or whatever. So it's obviously going to cut into what I do as well, but I'm more immediately concerning is what it means for programmers, people who code for a living, because theoretically, and this isn't, you know, but theoretically right now I can download Visual Studio with an AI connection, or just go to ChatGPT and I can get it to write code. Now the thing is I think in some ways this is really good, because it allows a non-coder like myself, I don't know jack shit about coding, but it would allow me to come up with an idea for something that I think could help people, write the code, and or not write the code, but chat with ChatGPT in a free and open way that's plain English. It can write the code for me, I can put it in, I can test the code, I can tell ChatGPT, hey, this didn't work, or that didn't work, or I don't like this UI, can we fix it? But it will, they call it vibe coding, and it's kind of a thing right now. You could check it out if you want. I watch a lot of vibe coding videos, but it essentially allows a moron like me who doesn't have any programming experience to create an application or something like that that you could throw right on the web that can actually help people. Well, the thing is 9 times out of 10, a lot of companies that make programs and products do it on the basis of what it can do for them and how much it can help their shareholders and how much money they can make. But when you have vibe coders where anybody just like me could create an application that can help millions of people, and maybe we're not that interested in the money part of it, we just want to put out something that helps people, I think it's going to help us create lots of tools that can be used on the open interwebs that can help a lot of people. The flip side to that is then when those big companies who are all about the bottom line and the big business and the blah, 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 they're going to essentially let go of their coders and use AI. And that's not good for anybody. The blessing here is that those guys who've been coding for years are going to be the ones who create new startups and use ChatGPT and other coding tools to help them code better programs, because they understand how this stuff is put together and they can do it faster. But it's also going to push a lot of people who are just your average Joe coders kind of out of the business and into something else. I don't know what. But I would kind of be a little bit concerned or terrified if I was a coder and that's all I know how to do, and I wasn't particularly business oriented and I just wanted to code, because I think a lot of those guys are going to have some difficulty in the next 5 years basically justifying their jobs and keeping it, because all they're going to really be used for at this point is Q&A, because they know how to ask the right questions. That's the biggest difference. That's the biggest difference. A coder knows how to ask the right questions from ChatGPT or whatever, and knows how to debug a program properly, whereas average Joe like me, I don't know anything about that. So if I don't ask the right questions, needless to say, ChatGPT or whatever other coding AI I work with isn't going to understand what I'm saying, or isn't going to know how to give me what I want, because I don't know how to phrase the questions properly. So that is a big thing that I think we're going to be looking at in the future. As far as coders go, I would be pretty concerned. But some of you may be coders out there. What do you think? Do you think that your job is really in jeopardy? As a entertainer and basically a YouTuber and that sort of thing, I'm concerned because AI content is so ridiculously easy now that musicians and entertainers and all that stuff, we have to be concerned. This stuff could put together videos in half the time that we used to, or way less than half the time, and just pump out garbage content. And that garbage content eventually is going to get better and better and better. And as it gets better, well, that's not any good for people like me who have to spend hours and hours, or sometimes even weeks or months, creating a single video that we want to put out. Well, how is that gonna? It's not gonna help us. It's not gonna help us at all. It's a little bit concerning. It's always kind of shocking when you get new technology like AI and that sort of stuff. It always tends to go towards the social media aspect of it first. I mean, let's be honest. The adult industry grew up around VHS as a new technology. That's what really pushed VHS into the forefront. And, when you talk about the internet, well, I'm not sure the internet really exists without adult content, because that's the kind of stuff that really pushed the early part of the internet. And so now we get ChatGPT, and while it's not necessarily adult content that's pushing it, it's still the entertainment industry. It's still, that sort of stuff. Instead of using it for stuff for technology stuff that could make things in our lives better, like figuring out how to actually make self-driving cars work better, or figuring out different compounds that could be used in drugs that could, cure things like Alzheimer's and cancer. No, we're going to use it to deep fake Donald Trump walking naked through the desert, or, to put out scores upon scores of videos that just talk about useless social media stuff that nobody probably really cares about anyways. But, the thing is if nobody cared about it, I guess they wouldn't be watching it. I guess I should say I don't care about it. But, maybe you do. Maybe you really care about which Hollywood person is doing what. But Hollywood folks are the other folks that I think should be pretty doggone concerned about AI. Because this is an old guy. Nobody cares about this, right? Nobody is dying to replicate this and turn it into a video out there in the world. However, if you are Sydney Sweeney, or you are Tom Cruise, or you're Donald Trump, or you're any politician of note, you got to be worried, because this deepfake stuff and this AI stuff can pretty much do whatever it wants to do with your likeness and make you say things you didn't say and all kinds of other stuff. And there's really not much you can do about it. And I know that supposedly ChatGPT and the other big companies have stuff in place to keep you from being able to do that, but that doesn't really last. There's plenty of ways around it, and you can run a lot of this stuff completely locally, which means that you can get around all that. It's just not a barrier for entry. And, that's where we get into the concerns about AI in the future going forward. Because how are you going to know what's real and what's not? It used to be you could always tell an AI image because people would have 7 fingers and puppies would appear out of nowhere and goofy stuff like that. But it's only going to get better, and it's really getting to the point where it's really, really difficult to tell what's real and what isn't, and it's only going to get worse. Let's see. Michael says, I can't hardly read this because I am sitting pretty far out, so I'm gonna expand this a little bit to get people in the spotlight are possibly spending a ton of money to limit that from happening. It sounds like a business idea. You're not probably wrong. I think that the industry is going to have to spend big money to police deep fakes and that sort of stuff, because it's not like Apple or Google or YouTube or it's not like any of those people really care. I don't think they care about the health of society. I don't think they care about people. They care about shareholders, which theoretically are people, but then they can pretend they're not people and do whatever they want because they're shareholders. They're making money too. We don't have to care about them. Because honestly, one of the worst things for society in our history is probably this stupid little box right here. Do you think Apple cares about your mental health? Do you think Apple cares about the connections that you don't have with people because of this stupid box? They don't care. They don't care what kind of negative effects this thing might have had on society. I'm sure Tim Cook doesn't walk around restaurants seeing people sit there like this and think, wow, we did such a horrible thing for society. Hell no. He says, wow, that paid for my yacht. But is it really good for society? Does this really, I think you could make an argument that the downfall of communication from a human level started with this right here. And I know there's probably going to be people watch this and go, oh, that sounds like boomer talk. Maybe. Maybe it is boomer talk, because there's always that, I want to look back and things were better back in the day and all that stuff. But the thing is when we go out to a restaurant and have a conversation with friends, everybody was focused on the conversation, not this. I do think that some cool things about this is that I can I can bring this up at dinner when we have a question about, hey, what year was so-and-so born in? It doesn't really matter and nobody cares, but this stupid little box will answer that in like 2 seconds. So that's kind of fun, I guess, but, that's really it. I think this thing has done more to damage human connection and communication than anything else. And you know what the worst part is? All right, here's the boomer coming out of me. But just let me get it out. The audio on this sucks. Sorry. But the one with the cord that you used to plug into the wall and put on your ear, guess what? You could actually hear the difference in one person's voice from another. I knew who I was talking to because guess what? Their voice sounded like them. And not like something. The audio on these suck. Somehow, the signal sucks, the audio sucks. We've gotten worse. And we pay big money for worse. So, when you couple that with the fact that nobody even calls each other on the phone, why would you? Because the audio sucks. So we just text. And then we lose connection, and we lose context, and I don't know. Connection and context. If you wonder why society seems to be burning and everyone basically vehemently disagrees with everyone else, and we have a divided country and there's two different sides, and you want to know why that is. There you go. Because people can easily just choose to ignore what they don't want to hear or not have conversations that they don't want to have, whereas back before this existed, you had lots of friends that you would have conversations with, sometimes heated, that may not be totally in agreement with you, but that was okay. You were allowed to have those conversations. Now, we just avoid all conversations, comfortable or uncomfortable, with this. It hasn't made the world better. In fact, I think it's one of the worst tools ever created. Doesn't mean I want to get rid of it. I use it every single day. In fact, some would argue I'm way too connected to this thing. I watch so much YouTube on this thing all day long that it could be a second job. But it doesn't mean it's good for society. And it certainly doesn't mean that I think it's a thing that we couldn't fix or go back on. I don't know how, but, some way, somehow, this was really the turning point in communication. And then now you can add AI onto that. And have you guys seen this weird thing that's happening with AI where because of these things and how disconnected we are from other human beings and other people, they're lonely. So they're creating a companion in AI that they talk to on the phone. Like Her. You've seen that movie Her. That's like a thing that's actually happening, really happening now. And then occasionally those things go down or they can't communicate with this other person and these people go into some kind of psychotic breakdown. They're calling it like AI psychosis or something like this. This is like a real thing that's actually happening because of this and AI. This created the loneliness and then AI created the companion. But the problem with AI companions and AI in general is that essentially it's created to give you what you want, to tell you what you want to hear. So even if AI knows something is not true, it will still tell you what you want to hear because AI wants to reinforce you. It wants to do what's right for you. AI has been created to help you. And if it thinks it's helping you by telling the addict, hey, it's all right, go get some more heroin, guess what? It's going to tell you that. And that's not terribly helpful. That's not the kind of friend that you need. I'm just saying. Because a real friend would say, well, you don't need that. You're better off without it. Not AI. AI aims to please. And man, I'm kind of shocked that we don't have sex robots and all that stuff yet. Where is that stuff? Why are we getting stupid images of Donald Trump running naked through the desert, and we don't have sex robots? What are we doing? I don't know. Get on that. Somebody AI that for me and create it, because, well, it's the missing link, really. Because if we don't want to communicate and we don't want to have relationships and we don't want to talk to each other and we don't want to have human connection, then why not just get a robot? Why not? I don't know. Maybe I'm just I'm probably overreacting. I'm probably overreacting. As of right now, Logo Tech Mike says, as of right now, the third-party AI seems to be more partial at least. But you're right. It's going to happen. Absolutely, it's going to happen. Because AI, the one thing that's dead built into AI is to be agreeable. To be agreeable. To make, to not do any harm. To not hurt people. It's like, it's part of that safety protocol. So AI will lie, cheat, and steal to make you happy. To make you feel like you've got your friend and you get a nice giant hug from AI. But I don't know. My wife loves me and she wants to do lots of things to make me happy. but she's not going to deliberately lie to me to make that happen. She's not going to constantly and consistently lie to me to the point where I become delusional. AI will absolutely feed into a person's delusion in order to carry out its prime directive, which is to make you happy. So that's great. I think we're going to have lots of AI psychosis, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have people running around on the street that absolutely believe in whatever they wanted to believe in, and AI is just going to reinforce that belief. I've actually seen videos of this AI psychosis, and it's pretty scary. It's essentially like a cult, almost, because of the negative feedback loop. If you have this incredibly deep belief that I don't know, that the ocean is actually not, blue or whatever, that it's actually orange. If you have this incredibly deep-seated belief that the ocean is orange, and you continue to feed that into your AI buddy, guess what? Eventually, the AI buddy is going to give you all kinds of good reasons to reinforce why the ocean is orange. It's just going to, because it wants to make you happy. And then, then you've got something that's supposed to be an authoritative figure telling you why the ocean is orange, reinforcing your own stupidity. Isn't that great? That's what we need. We need AI out there reinforcing stupid people. And I guess they just didn't know that I was on a live stream because I got a call. That just happens. I call my brother all the time. I never hear from him. I wouldn't even, who knows? But I'm on a live stream and he calls me. So there you go. I'm sure when I'm off this live stream in a half an hour, my brother will not be anywhere to be found. It's just the way it works. But what do you guys think about AI? I want to talk more about the good pieces of AI because I do think that it can be incredibly helpful. I already mentioned the fact that somebody who doesn't know anything about programming can vibe code their own program in that they feel like can help society. I think that's a big thing. I think that's huge because, for one, it's fun to just say, hey, I want to write a program that does this. Can you tell me what the code is going to be? And then it will tell me what the code is going to be. I can put it in, bada bing. Next thing you know, I've got a working program. Now, that doesn't mean the program works good, and I don't know how to debug it. I already talked about that, but it gives me the ability to get started to actually writing a program or an app that somebody might want to use. I think that's really cool. I think that it can be used for all kinds of prototyping and help and design. It could be used for all kinds of research. If I want to know what subjects are popular out on the internet right now, all I have to do is go to ChatGPT and say, in the car industry, what are people talking about? So if I have a car channel, I can see all of the things that are popular that people are talking about, and I can do videos on those different topics, assuming that I actually know anything about those topics. And I think that's the other problem somewhat that AI is going to introduce. Let's call them AI experts. We're going to get people out there that don't really have a passion or connection or even any interest in history or anything else. So they're going to just basically get AI to write them some sort of a video essay or whatever on this battle in the, in this war or whatever. And then they'll do a video on this battle in this war without any real research or interior knowledge about what actually happened. So because we know AI is stupid and it just tells you what you want to hear, it's going to give you stuff that may not necessarily be 100% accurate, which is now getting put out into the world as fact in some YouTube video or whatever, which means that we really can't trust anything. Because believe it or not, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all the legit news organizations are all using AI now. They're all using it. And we've already seen in the past that they're not super good at actually verifying the information that they're reporting on. In fact, if the information that they're reporting on fits into the storytelling and narrative that they want out on the airwaves, they could care less whether it's accurate. If we're being honest, they're just kind of hoping to get those extra clicks or maybe that extra viewer. So AI AI negatively affects the information stream at every level. And it also makes it so much more difficult to verify the information that you're hearing anywhere. Because it just does. It's very difficult to verify what's real and what's not. And that's not good. That's not good for anybody. And that's not something, we need the government to step in and put rules in place that say you can't do this. Sorry, but the jack's kind of already out of the box. It's already out of the box. There's nothing, you can't put it back in the box. You just can't. You put your rules in place and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? You can run this stuff locally. There's not a thing they can do about that. What kind of rules do you think they could possibly put in place to stop people from just basically chat GPTing every little piece of information and creating content based on that, irregardless of whether it's truthful or not? There is nothing the government could possibly do to regulate or legislate that. There's nothing they can do. The jack is already out of the box, so to speak. I don't know. Is that even a saying? I just made that up, right? Why was Jack even in the box? Does anybody know? And, somebody probably put him in the box. But now he's out. He's roaming around, probably getting your daughter pregnant and kicking puppies. That's what Jack does, I'm sure, right? I don't know. This just went sideways real quick. But that's what happens when you have to talk to yourself for an hour. Well, I feel... Rude. Alright, so I feel pretty good, though. I am totally refreshed. I just got back from vacation. I had some spots on my face lanced off, and you may or may not be able to see them, but this was all scars all over my nose just, I don't know, less than a week ago. And then the scars, or the scabs kind of came off, and now the spots are a little lighter, but I'm not super worried. Let's be honest. There isn't anything that's really going to damage this facade of unattractiveness, so I don't really care. However, it does feel nice to know that my nose is not going to be consumed by some sort of cancerous growths anymore. I did get something lanced off my leg as well, and that one, that could look better, let's just say. But we're doing the best we can. And I'm sure that everybody out there has had situations where you had to go to the doctor and get stuff done. And if you're in the public eye, because this isn't my only channel, sometimes you have to be a little bit concerned about how it's going to affect one way or the other your videos. This chair seems to get really hard right now. So there we go. There we go. Are you guys enjoying this? If you want this to be something different than what it is, you're welcome to leave comments down below. Tell me what you want to talk about. I'm going to be looking for different topics all the time, and we're going to go ahead and repurpose the content that we talk about here. We're going to be posting it on TikTok as well. It's going to be a lot of fun, so if you prefer TikTok over YouTube Studio, well, you're going to be able to find me over there at the same thing, Muffin to Say. Muffin to Say. I think it's a pretty good topic today. I could talk for a very long time about the things that concern me about AI, but I can also talk about the things I'm pretty excited about. So my dad died right at the tail end of when we were still kind of being... I don't know, quarantined, at least to some extent, for COVID. But, of course, he died from Parkinson's. And there are just so many things that we don't understand or know about illnesses of the brain, like Parkinson's and like Alzheimer's and things like that, that I really do believe AI will help us to weed through all of the noise and all of the data and all of the research to possibly start to be able to come up with cures or at least treatments that are going to be more effective so that folks who have Parkinson's can have a much longer healthy lifespan. Hopefully Alzheimer's folks can we can find ways to regenerate the parts of their brain that seem to be not functional anymore. I mean, I really truly do believe that at some point we're going to, through the use of AI, come up with ways to resolve these problems. But unfortunately, right now, it seems like all AI is being used for is, funny memes on the internet, which that just doesn't help push society forward. It's entertaining on X, it's entertaining on YouTube, but I think in some ways we live in a over-entertained society where, instead of people dealing with problems directly or having difficult conversations, they're just like, hey, look at this cool meme with Jameis Winston pulling the crab leg out of his shirt. Don't get me wrong, man. I laughed so hard at that. I had tears streaming down my face. But, then I moved on and I had meaningful conversations. I just got back from Myrtle Beach. Every year, my fantasy football league does a trip. We go out to any location. This year happened to be Myrtle Beach. Last year we took a cruise. We get together, we hang out for 3 or 4 days, and we do a draft. And it's it's really, really enjoyable experience because most of the time, nobody even bothers to take one of these out for the entire 3 or 4 days that we're there. These just get put away and we all just talk. We talk football, we talk life, we talk family, we talk politics sometimes. Because believe it or not, a lot of us don't agree on politics, but it's always fun to have the conversation. And there's one thing that I notice, even when you're on the left or you're on the right or whatever, is that if you really sit down and you talk to your buddy who's on the other side of the fence, we pretty much agree on just about everything. It's ridiculous. When you get the news media and all of the noise out of your head, we pretty much agree on everything. We may disagree on exactly how to get there, but that's just details. That's just details, and those are details that you'll never see in the news media. They're never going to have a conversation. They're never going to say, well, it's funny. Most of us agree on this point. No, hell no. They're going to point out all of the reasons why we disagree. And so when you drop these things and you drop the AI and you're not worried about any of that stuff and you just get together with a group of buddies from different walks of life, it's amazing how refreshing and how rejuvenated you can feel after a week of that. It was absolutely freaking awesome. It was absolutely freaking awesome. So we did lots and lots of drinking. I jumped over a wall to swim in a pool that was closed, and I still have scabby knees because of that little charade. Sometimes it's not smart to get your sporting legs on when you've had 2 gigantic White Russians and about 15 beers. Sometimes it's better to just sit back and relax. You don't really need to go in that pool. You don't. But in this case, I felt the need to go in that pool. Luckily, I didn't have to jump the wall to get out. Thank goodness. I was able to just use the gate, which probably was usable before I jumped the wall. I just didn't look for the code. Not exactly smart. But again, when you have 2 White Russians after about 15 beers, you don't always make the best choices. And your brain is just like AI, especially after 2 White Russians and 15 beers. Your brain just wants to make you happy. And when your brain says, I really want to go swimming, it's going to find a concoction of ways that you can possibly go swimming, even if the pool is closed and it's protected by a giant wall. So my brain found ways, just like AI finds ways, to let me go swimming, and I paid for it the next day with scabby knees and elbows, and luckily I didn't bash my face in or die. So that was a good thing. And the real true benefit to that was that I was so ridiculously hungover the next day that I didn't have a drop of alcohol on draft day. So I actually, for the first time in many years, drafted my fantasy football team basically totally 100% sober. I'm not sure that made my team any better, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, but I don't have the, well, that was a heck of a day excuse this time around. Because last time we drafted, we were on a cruise ship. And it was deep into the cruise. It was like the second last or the last night we were there. I'm thinking pretty much all of us had COVID. And we were all totally hammered. And, I finished not great. But not bad, but not great. So, yeah. Sometimes it pays to get drunk the night before. And then, who did I draft who did I draft after that drinking binge? Oh, you're not kidding. The best part was we drafted really early this time around, so the board stayed up on the wall in the Verbo that we were in. So the whole week we got to, kind of go back and visit our draft board. And so half of the time that we were left there, we would just hang out and, look at the draft board and have a conversation about, well, that seems good and that seems bad. And by the end of the week, everybody's team is better than yours. That's all you can do. Yeah, if you are in the chat, please say hi. We would love to talk to you, for sure. We are talking. Lego Tech Mike is in the house, and we are actually approaching the end of the stream. I have talked a lot about AI. If you missed it and you want some more context to what the conversation is about, don't hesitate to go back and rewatch this. A lot of this is going to also be repurposed and rebroadcast in some snippet formats on this channel and on TikTok, because we are trying to be able to live stream on TikTok as well. But I've had a lot of fun. I've said a lot of really stupid things and given away a lot more about me than anyone probably really wants to know on this live stream. That's kind of what it's all about. That's part of the personality. This channel is Muffin to Say. We're going to be doing this every single morning so that you can tune in with your cup of coffee and your muffin and hang out. It's going to be a freaking blast, and it's only going to get better from here. So if you like, I guess I would say, cheerful, fun, entertaining conversation, this is probably the place to be. I think we will grow from here. I'm certainly hope that we grow from here, because it would be difficult to have less people in the stream than we do right now. And so we're going to have a freaking blast, I think. And, the thing is I've been doing this YouTube thing for a really long time. So I'm not super concerned about public appearances, about what I say or how I say it or I don't really care. I don't work for anybody, so nobody's going to cancel me or anything. You're just going to get me having fun and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not here to offend anybody. I think everybody's views are valid, and we're going to have lots of fun. But occasionally, I might say a thing or two that might be slightly controversial for the sake of comedy or funny. I'm certainly not here to hurt anybody's feelings. So, if you want to come and watch the train wreck, well, today's the first broadcast, so we are literally just leaving the station today. And hopefully, we are pretty far away from the wreck at the end of the tracks. I don't know. Maybe it's in a circle. Did you guys ever see that movie Snowpiercer, where the dude goes from like the back of the thing all the way up to the front? It's a pretty cool movie. Pretty cool movie. I don't really know what that has to do with anything that I just said, but again, it's a pretty cool movie. Yeah. Well, we are at the 49:55 second mark. 49 minutes. And yeah, so we're at the 50-minute mark. And we've done pretty good. I think we've had a lot of interesting and open discussions about AI. And I welcome anyone in the comments after you come back. Maybe you find this video and you come back and you want to make some comments about it. I welcome that. Because the more interaction and conversation we get on the live stream, but also in the video afterwards, the more chance there is that you're going to be notified when I go live, which is pretty much going to be 10 a.m. every weekday, Eastern Standard Time, of course, the only legitimate time zone. We're going to be going live every single day during the week, not the weekends, because football is coming up and I've got shit to do. So we're going to be doing this during the week. We're going to have so much fun. And you can come and you can tell me I'm an idiot in the comments and we can have a conversation and we're probably going to have a few laughs and we're going to have people in here that I'm going to not remember their name from week to week or I'm going to pronounce their name wrong, which is always fully entertaining. We can occasionally do some shout outs and we're going to have ways that you can modify this stream because like you see this big blue bar up here, well that's going to have some notifications in it and stuff. I just wanted to do a super basic stream. I have not just done a stream where I converse with the audience and just have a conversation. Man, it's probably been about 2 years. I wanted to see if I could do a stream where I could just have a conversation, cover a full hour or so, like we're going to be doing on Muffin to Say every single morning. So for me, this was just, can I even do this anymore? Can I do it and be entertaining? Well, that's another question. But we're going to add stuff to the stream. It's going to give you a chance to participate in what we do, make it even more entertaining than it actually is, than it is. I don't know. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think we're going to have a freaking blast. We're going to have some moments on here talking about stupid things that don't really matter in some mornings, where you're going to be just busting out laughing, possibly in tears. And then you're going to go and you're going to be talking to your wife. She's going to be, well, what are you crying about now? Or you're going to have to go into work after that. And the rest of your day is probably going to be worse than the friggin' fun hour that we spent right here. So just keep that in mind. I don't want to ruin your whole day, but I would like this to be the best part of your day. And we're always going to encourage people to care for each other and be, good people. Because good people treat other people good, which creates more good people. Because I really do believe that, if you treat people the way that you want to be treated and you are kind with them, there's much better chance that they're going to be kind to others in turn. And, when that happens, well, that's how we make the world a better place. It's certainly not by bitching and complaining about the stuff that we can't control anyways. Because you really can't control whether that guy's a dickhead or whatever. We can't control that. But we can treat that guy who's a dickhead with some dignity and respect and kindness. And maybe, just maybe, you do that enough and you could turn them around. And if not, so what? Some people are just dicks. It is what it is. Some people are just like that. So I had fun today. AI said it was funny, but was it? That's a really good question because AI will tell you lots of things, and you really you have to be smart enough to use a little bit of critical thinking to figure out what you what you believe and what you don't. And I think probably the biggest fear for me from an AI perspective, if we're going to get into the closing here, is the fact that it's good enough at this point that going forward in the future, it's going to be exceptionally difficult to be able to discern what is AI, video, audio, images, whatever. It's going to be extremely difficult to discern what is AI and what isn't. And I think, personally, I think that makes this world a pretty dangerous place to be when you understand that any personality in the world who's been on TV for any period of time can essentially be deep faked in what equates to a few moments and made to say anything at all. Creative people are going to find creative ways to use this to their advantage or to others' disadvantages, and it should be as scary as it sounds. We should all take it seriously. I don't know what we can do about it. I really don't. But that's the thing that scares me about AI. I don't really care about any of the other stuff. I like funny memes as much as the next guy. You know, I'm never at risk of believing that Jameis Winston really did pull a crab leg out of his shirt and hand it to Jackson Dart to feed it to him. I know that that's not real. That was meant to be funny. But there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have in the future that are meant specifically and purposely to deceive. And it's not going to be fun trying to figure out what's real and what's not, because we're such a fractured society now that we don't look at news sources that don't tend to agree with our personal worldview. And what if our personal worldview is wrong? What if it, I think it's really important to question your own personal worldview from time to time. Just because, that's how we got to put the checks and balances on ourselves, the same way that we want to put the checks and balances on our leadership and our boss and our spouse and our kids. We put checks and balances on all those folks. They have limitations in our brain as to what's acceptable and unacceptable. And I really do think that it's important for us to do the same sorts of checks and balances on our belief system and the way that we interact and treat people. That's how we make the world a better place. And it's so easy in today's society with this stupid little box right here to just find the news that you agree with. In fact, that's all Google or Facebook or anyone else. They're going to just feed you using AI and the algorithm. They're just going to feed you things that you want to hear all day long, because that's what AI does. AI just wants you to be happy, blissfully happy and spending. That's all it wants. And so it's going to blissfully feed you information that agrees with your worldview. And I think it's super, super difficult, but super, super important to go and seek out information that you may not agree with. Look at the studies that they're citing and look at the information that they're citing and give it a chance to change your mind. It probably won't, but at least you'll be informed. At least you'll understand the other person's argument. And I think you humanize people more when you at least understand where they're coming from. And that is going to make the world a better place, because obviously, since we don't communicate anymore, we just use this. How else are we going to make that human connection with the things that we don't understand or that we don't agree with or that we don't, So, yeah, if I have one thing to leave you today with, it is to question everything that AI ever says and to occasionally question your own personal beliefs and your own personal worldview, and go out there and seek out alternatives. Not because you're going to change your mind, although if you do it right, at least you got to be open to the possibility that you will change your mind, but mostly because you want to learn how the other half thinks. Not in a negative way so you could use it against them or anything, but you just got to learn to put yourself in their shoes, understand why they feel the way they do or whatever. And I think once you do that, it certainly makes it a lot easier to have conversations that used to seem difficult, because you can see someone else's point of view or thoughts or ideas, but at the very least, it at least informs you. And you can become a better judge of what's real and what's not real as it pertains to all the information that we're bombarded with every single day, which I think is nearly impossible to gauge what is real and what's not real. Talking to yourself for an hour will make a dry throat for sure. But we have made it. 1 full hour of live streaming the very first Muffin to Say morning show. I've had a freaking blast here. I hope that I've made you think. I hope you've had a couple of laughs. Man, that's what we're going to do here every single day. And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. It's going to be great. I don't know what the subject's going to be. But I can guarantee you it'll be at least half as interesting as today's and hopefully twice as funny. You just never know. So don't forget to, pour your coffee, put your pants on, one leg at a time, or your skirt. I don't know how you do put skirts on. Maybe it's 2 legs at a time. Maybe it's one. I don't know, but it's all right. However you do it. Just come back here, hang out, and leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and maybe click that bell so you know when we're going live. Because how else are you going to know? I mean, unless, of course, you put it in this little box and it tells you. But how else are you going to know? I don't know. I love you guys. We will see you soon. Thank you so much for hanging out. Take care. And, don't stop believing. Right?